Okay, so first and foremost, I want to thank all of you guys for taking some time out of your Friday to be here with me. I'm excited to talk to you about my new platform, Wing Women, which is actually a product from Surrender Circle. For those of you guys who might be listening in on this presentation, you can follow along or check us out online at mywingwomen.com. And as I work through the deck, of course, perhaps the visuals, the website might get you more excited and let you know a little bit more about what we're up to. And so to get started, Wing Women is a peer-to-peer social wellness network that has HIPAA compliant messaging that I personally believe provides the ultimate community and privacy and protection for professional women. The platform itself offers a HIPAA compliant chat feature. We have unique usernames and a unique health data management strategy. We offer 24/7 direct messaging to a mental health crisis hotline, world-class privacy policy, and discreet billing. So the real problem here, or the reason why this came about, is that I identified a problem and I did some research around what it looks like to be an exceptional woman in today's world and what types of issues we as exceptional women, particularly in this last year, are up against. Obviously, we've seen a lot of articles online, an influx of data and research and just content across the internet as it relates to women and their mental health. And so I looked up the data to see what exactly is going on and how is this impacting women who are on the rise, glass ceiling breakers, all of that good stuff. And so what I found is that women in leadership roles right now, and honestly, even before the pandemic, were facing unique stressors that only their personal peer group might not have understood. And so in many cases, this might have led to a woman feeling more isolated when it came to trying to get real support for things that she was dealing with at work. Traditional therapy, even though it's, I would say, more buzzy now and more mainstream now, it is still really costly and highly stigmatized, unfortunately. Additionally, women with any type of mental health concerns don't typically want to disclose them or divulge them online because they want to protect their reputation and their career, rightfully so. And even if they do want to, at times, share that information on platforms like Facebook groups or other various platforms, they're likely to run into issues if they share something that might be shareable and their personal health data, their information is sometimes shared without their consent. And so when we went to the drawing board, we said, you know what? If there are already 29% of women who are holding these executive roles on a global scale, and they're already facing these problems, and as this number of women in these leadership roles is likely to increase, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to give them a place to address their mental health concerns and manage some of the unique stressors that they deal with in their day-to-day professional lives?
Cool. So, hello, everyone. I am Lindy Trofe with Immerse Games, founder and CEO here. And so I'm going to walk you through our product today and our business, and really excited to talk with you all as well. So, for our company, our real North Star vision is to create an experiential learning game where you're going to be able to learn absolutely anything. So there's a lot of ways that we can think about the problems that we're addressing in education. And, it's multifaceted, but really what we're focusing on right now is that 82% of young people don't have the skills they need to enter the workplace. And we know that we can do better as educators. We can teach these skills and literacies, and there's best practices to move from rote consumption into active problem solving that are really difficult to incorporate into classrooms every day or even experiences outside of school. And so that's where we come in. Title Online is about empowering students with this experiential learning. We create those opportunities to actually do hands-on learning, and we happen to use a video game to do it, is how I like to think about it. So right now, we're starting with a focus on middle school science. So this is where STEM interest normally drops off, and if obviously it's a critical needs area for STEM. But our long-term vision, as I mentioned, is to expand that, is to take the tools we're building and let other people start adding on their own content so we can become this massive platform where you can learn across many verticals and areas. So let me show you how this actually works. First, of course, we engage students. They love setting up their character that represents them in the game, and it works. We've had over 19% of students actually play extra content beyond what the teachers assigned them in school. And then we inspire with authentic problem solving. So for example, To learn about genetics, a councilwoman asks you to help a food shortage. You work with a botanist, you look at different options, and you run experiments on water levels and light levels, and you bring back solutions. So things that are really culturally relevant and meaningful that you can do with science. And we use fascinating science phenomena. So I'm going to play a short video here to actually walk you through in a little more detail how the learning really works. And so this example is from actually ecology, and you're learning about interdependent relationships. So we take you to the Amazon rainforest to see the zombie ants. This is a real thing that happens. Students start by investigating the ant colony, and they observe this ant being shunned. They follow it up and watch as it dies and a fungus grows from its head. So this is where our core gameplay really comes in. They use science and engineering practices, and they collect evidence. They make sense of what's going on. Here, they're taking samples, examining it, looking at data, and figuring out what is going on and build their own argument in order to explain that. So in this case, they see that this fungus was connecting to the ant's brain and driving it to go to this elevated leaf, because the higher it was, the more ants it would infect with its spores. And so they build their own argument from evidence about that. So we know that our approach works. We've had grants from the National Science Foundation, the Department of Education, and we've done research around this. We're supporting that critical skill development, not just learning rote content, or as one of our teachers said, we help create what real science is like by providing this direct experience versus relying on passive watching of videos or reading articles or things like that. So this important need is, of course, therefore set in a large market. This initial niche that we're focusing on is this middle school science, and so that's 132 million starting market. But of course, there's a bigger US-based TAM, and then the bigger vision we have with that platform brings us into the broader 374 billion e-learning market as well.
So I like to, say that Clearbrief is like Grammarly, but it's for the substance, checking over the substance of professional writing and hyperlinking to sources. And Grammarly, has a $1 billion plus, valuation. And they started in the academic space. We're starting the legal space, but this is a problem that exists for all sorts of professionals who have to analyze and summarize complex documents and are worried that they didn't do it accurately. And so there's a huge amount of money spent on this particular aspect of the legal profession, where we have, attorneys, paralegals, their teams, all working on fixing up the citations in a brief. So in the writing that's filed with the court, every single sentence that you write is supposed to be supported by either a citation to the law, to a case or to a statute or regulation, or to a document, to the evidence in your case. And there's just all this time spent on the attorney side, making sure that you can find that evidence, cite to it properly, check it over after people edit the document. And then again, that a huge amount of time is spent on the judge's side for their team, making sure, okay, the lawyer is saying that this happened. Is that really true? I need to go find that document. And it's kind of crazy when when you look at the documents. This is just a random example from a Ninth Circuit brief. I mean, this is what a judge is seeing, trying to prove a fact, where they're seeing, this string of numbers, and they're expected to go and find, those pages in the thousands of pages of discovery and look it up and see if what you're saying is true. There's all these conventions with legal writing that also make it challenging, the use of id to refer to previous things that you were talking about. And none of this is usually, hyperlinked. So the judges and their, clerks are all manually looking it up. So we are, really tackling this problem at a certain point in time. There's, three main ways that, or three main, sort of points in time when lawyers will be using Clearbrief. The first is to check over their brief before they file it, and make sure that they didn't make any embarrassing errors, that they found the right document that can win that case. You can also use Clearbrief to analyze your opponent's brief to see where they're misrepresenting, the facts. I actually wrote a whole blog post about the terrifying feeling you get as a lawyer when you get your opponent's brief and you're just like, oh my God, we're going to lose. Like, this is terrible. Everything they're saying is airtight. And then you go to look up the document and you're like, wait a minute, we're fine. Like, this did not happen this way. So it's so important to have that evidence, handy. And yeah, so the third way is, when you're outlining for a deposition or for a hearing, Clearbrief can help you, find that needle in the haystack. And there's a lot of ways that you can get citations wrong. One thing that really stood out for me is talking with judges, and we have I've talked to over like 250 attorneys and judges and clerks and paralegals, and actually Judge Karen Ashby, who's the first Black woman judge on Colorado Court of Appeals. She's one of our advisors. But the same theme came up every time I talked to judges, which is that when they go to look up those source documents and they realize it's what you're saying is not there in the evidence, they will put down your brief and read your opponent's brief. So you're really like risking losing all credibility with that decision maker in your case.
So I always like to begin a pitch with a proper introduction. I think we kind of done that already, but I want to do it again. So hi, I'm Lisa, the founder of Features First, and I am an early adopter of technologies. And I can remember the day that I was proud of myself for finally buying an environmentally friendly 2012 Kia Optima Hybrid. But the drive home made me feel like I was in an airplane cockpit. I only understood 2 of the gazillion functions of my car. Now, I consider myself a pretty smart person as a graduate at Dartmouth, and at the very least, I should be as smart as my car, right? Has anyone else had this experience? This led to my own research of who else is experiencing this pain, and I quickly discovered that most drivers were having the same problem that I was. While the purchase was cool, I kind of felt like a dumb driver in a smart car. How many of you have actually read your manual? How many of you actually feel confident that you fully understand the safety features in your car, like ABS? The first problem is that we are not serving people with unread manuals. And more importantly, we are missing out on data. The reason I say that we are missing out on data is a problem is because these safety features in your car were created based on post-collision data. And we can do better. They should have been based on real-time data that could have prevented the collision in the first place. What would it look like if we could start to collect this real-time data and really build a connection between the driver and the technology? Now more than ever, the society wants to feel connected. In fact, according to McKinsey's 2020 consumer survey report, 37% of respondents would switch car brands for an improved connectivity.
All right, so hello everyone, my name is Michaela. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Activism Always, and we're a hybrid service that combines an internal AI platform with strategy analytics in order to maximize the social media data capabilities and impact of both small businesses and nonprofits. So since launching in August, we have used our developed AI platform to create the prototype projects shown here, Black Lives Matter Always, as well as complete 2 pro bono and 1 paid project. So with BLM Always, we produce geographic visualizations and hashtag analysis of the most recent peak of the Black Lives Matter movement this June following the murder of George Floyd. In the past few months, we've had the amazing opportunities to complete 2 pro bono client projects with both Empowering a Billion Women Foundation and Campaign Zero, as well as receive over $6,000 in grants. We also are in the process of completing 1 paid project with St. Paul Youth Services. So most nonprofits and small businesses have a lot of similarities in the problems that they face in terms of wanting to use data more effectively. The biggest issue that they face is that they don't have access to the resources, time, or personnel needed to support their data operations. And because of that, only 5% have the capacity to use and incorporate data into their daily business decisions. Increasing this access could close the gap for nonprofits and small businesses to make the most of their impact. So from extensive customer interviews and testing out our AI platform with client projects, we realized that we can solve this issue by creating a unique product specifically for the mission-driven sector by leveraging our existing technology. So we're currently moving towards developing a user interface that empowers these businesses to receive simple yet effective analytics. So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of our product demo, and I'll be showcasing the process that our pro bono client, COVIDx Now, would have gone through. And for this client, they were trying to better understand the public engagement around racial health inequality in the context of COVID-19. So we completed the data analytics and recommendations for COVIDx Now manually, but with our product, this process would be automated and future customers would be able to do this themselves in 4 quick and easy steps. So after logging in, the user inputs the keyword, time period they wish to analyze, a social media platform of their choice, and the outputs they'd like to receive. So here you can see that this user has selected to see the top influencers and trending hashtags on Twitter from April of last year around the specific keyword COVID-19. Our platform then automatically produces visualizations based on the user's input, which here are the top influencers mentioned in tweets that contain the keyword COVID-19, as well as the trending hashtags around COVID on Twitter. And these visualizations are the actual ones that we created for our client in our case study using our existing technology. And that brings us to our last step. And so here we have the recommendations that put our data analysis into tangible action steps that can be easily incorporated into social media posts. And unlike any other platform, this helps nonprofits and small businesses make sense of the complicated analytics, and it takes the guesswork out of how to use data in social media operations.
I'm Geeta Banda. I'm the CEO and co-founder for Dyna AI. We've started Dyna AI towards the beginning of 2019. As I was earlier talking about, we were part of Hearst Lab, and before that, we were part of TechStarts as well, which was fantastic. And just to give you a quick background about myself, I worked for companies like McKinsey and Deloitte. I had experience with HP. So I had about 14, 15 years of corporate consulting career before I started Dyna AI. And one of the, and my co-founder, Teja here, has worked for Microsoft, GitHub, and a few other companies as well, and based out of Australia. So just to give you a quick view about our background, we've mostly focused on data and analytics platforms, and that's been throughout my career, how to get large organizations or users in the large organizations adapt business intelligence or data tools or build their AI platforms, build their data warehousing platforms. So that's been our background. And a few things that we've constantly noticed, I know the investment that companies make every year altogether is about 187 billion in just business intelligence tools itself. So this is not considering AI, this is not considering machine learning or data science investments. This is purely from business intelligence kind of investment is about 187 billion. And what we've also realized, and through research as well, is about 70% of these projects fail. And most of the business intelligence adoption of these tools is less than 10%. And to be honest, I think it's less than 5% based on my experience, because every time as a consulting project, we implement something, we spend almost an year or two building these fantastic platforms and beautiful dashboards. And within a month or so, when we go back to the users saying, how are you using these tools? We always get an answer saying, I can't answer that question now, or, I need something different, or what you've given me is a bit complicated. So I think that's where, we kind of realized that most of the tools in the market, for example, Tableau, Looker, Power BI, are built for technical users. So this is your data analysts or mostly your data analysts or data engineers is what these tools are built for. And but technically almost 90% of an organization is made of non-technical users. So our focus has been, how can we build a tool which gives everyone the power to create with data? So it doesn't matter if you're a data analyst or if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're an executive. How can we give you a tool which makes data analysis very simple?
Great. I am Donna Sanders, co-founder and CEO of Virimoto, and we are the first integrated SaaS solution that takes into account cost savings as well as carbon emissions reductions for both building operators and their tenants. And so super excited to be here today to learn from everybody who is creating change. This is a great day. Our early traction has been exciting. We won one of the national spots at the Clean Tech Open, some funding from the Black and Latino Tech Initiative, the National Science Foundation, and TechStars Energy Tech. We just finished December of 2020. Our purpose is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in cities globally. The reason we're focused on cities is that by the year 2050, over 6 billion people are going to be in cities. Urbanization is an increasing trend, and to affect change at scale, cities must have solutions. And so we see this really as a compound problem. There's inefficient energy use. Buildings actually emit 40% of all our global greenhouse gases. And another cool fact, or not so cool fact, is they waste 30% of all the energy they consume. So just think about that. That's incredible. Other part of the compound problem is consumer demand. Folks like you and I are demanding more sustainable buildings and opportunities to do more for ourselves. And then pending and current and future regulation. There is more and more regulation coming aboard, especially since we changed the president. And so we're seeing a lot more federal, and then that's going to drop down to the states. And so you're looking at here this nice gentleman, Jordan Gerard. He is one of the folks that's using our pilot, and he is the CEO of a company. And we help him help his customers. So his business helps potential New York City real estate investors, and they are trying to figure out which buildings in New York City they're going to buy. The problem we're solving for him and his customers is that we're helping them understand what the operating costs are going to be for energy and predicting those costs, and also the greenhouse gas emissions. So New York City is one of the places where people will have to pay if they go above a certain cap. So this becomes extremely crucial to understand and predict this greenhouse gas data.